Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is ensuring software quality through multi-tool integrations. Our guest speakers today are Mr. Somanil Chaudhary, Solutions Specialist, Covire Software India, and Mr. Puranjoy Chatterjee, Senior Project Manager, Covire Software India. Mr. Somanil has been associated with Covire for more than 6 years, being involved in defining and developing solutions for Covire customers. His main focus is to provide on-site and offshore consulting services for complete ALM and Omnibus integration solution implementation and managing projects for Covire products for the customers. Our second speaker is Mr. Puranjoy Chatterjee, Senior Project Manager, Covire Software India. He has been associated with Covire for more than 12 years and heads the engineering team for integration framework. He is responsible for solution design, development, and delivery for major customers in Omnibus integrations. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speakers. Over to you, Mr. Puranjoy.
Thank you, Mohini. Good evening, everyone. So I'm Puranjoy, and I'll be today presenting this topic about ensuring software quality through multi-tools integration. Along with me, Somanil is there, who will be walking you through a demonstration of the capabilities of tool integrations. So without further delay, I'll move on to the first slide. First, let's discuss about the agenda today. So I'll give a short introduction of why integration is required and where software quality stands in the SDLC perspective. Then we'll come to the topic of why we need integration, what are the benefits of integration, how to integrate, what are the available options, what are the different architectures available, then which is the best fit technology, and what are the features to look for in an integration product. Then we'll have a short section on the Covire offerings. So what is a Covire solution and what exactly it offers, and how we address the cloud development tools. Then we'll have the demonstration of the integration bus capabilities, and lastly we'll have the Q&A session. To start with, development of software applications should ensure quality standards and adherence to best practices and consistent processes across the entire SDLC. So quality is, as all of you may be aware, it's not only about testing. Quality begins from the requirement stage of a SDLC, where the quality of requirement management is important, the quality of individual requirements is important. Then it moves on to the design, the development, the testing, defect fixing, the entire SDLC. Quality has its presence felt over the entire SDLC. So unless we are concerned about quality from the step one, most likely we are going to end up with poor quality, even though we have a good testing team and testing practices. So throughout this entire SDLC picture, the enterprises are using expensive point tools to manage their project lifecycle. So each of these tools, they work in their own domain, in their own silo. There is not much data being shared across the different tools. They are still struggling to achieve a single point of truth. What this basically means is that if I'm a project manager and at a single point of time I want to know what is the exact status of my project, quality-wise, coverage-wise, where do we stand today. It's very difficult to get this information from one source. You have to probably ask someone to gather the data from multiple tools and then accumulate it and roll it up and then present it. So integration of tools, this is one of the major hurdles that these organizations are facing, because these tools don't talk to each other, or they talk via customized point-to-point integrations, which often get outdated as soon as you implement. Because in today's world, the business rules are constantly changing. It's not a static scenario. So let's move on to the next slide. So how integration comes into the picture when we are talking about software quality. So as an example, let's consider requirements and test cases. So changes in requirements, they should be visible as soon as possible to the test teams. For example, if someone is modifying a requirement which has some 50 test cases associated with it, it is very likely that this modification is going to make changes or going to make some test cases obsolete, and it's going to require some more test cases. So unless the test team gets to know this information real time, they are actually working on outdated items. They are probably creating test cases which won't be required anymore. So it's very critical for this information to flow to the test team as soon as possible, in real time if possible. Then requirements traceability. It should be possible to know that if I make a change in this requirement, it will be impacting 50 odd test cases. So I should be really careful about making this change, and I should really validate it before I change this requirement. On the other hand, another requirement may be just a UI requirement which doesn't have any impacts. It may be impacting only one test case. So it's pretty straightforward to just modify that and let the test manager know that this UI is changed. Next, let's consider the build cycle. It is now almost mandatory that any build has to be followed by a regression testing suite, which will run automatically, and it will probably, you can configure it in a way that the completion of the build triggers this test suite execution from a different tool, and those test results can probably be again automatically put up in a portal, so that this whole thing can happen in the night time, and when the developers or testers come to office the next morning, they get to see the result of yesterday's build on a portal. So this also requires a very tight integration between the build tools, the development tools, and these portal kind of tools. Then we come to defect management. Now testing teams can generate some defects either in their own test tools. Some of the test tools provide defect management, although it's not maybe the best defect management solution, but the testers may find it comfortable to work with. But this defect has to be sent to the development tool where the developers are working on. Either they need to proactively check it, because they're not going to use the test tool. For example, if we are working on Quality Center, I can't expect the developers to work on Quality Center, have their Quality Center licenses, which are expensive, just for the sake of looking at the defects. So they'll be working in their own tools. They might have a separate defect management tool, and those need to be very tightly integrated with the test cases. Which test case is generating which defect? What are the steps? What are the steps to recreate these defects? So this can help the developer very quickly fix the defect and notify again the test case owner that this particular defect has been fixed and the build will be ready today or something. So there must be some collaboration between the defect management and the test management. And lastly, integrated reporting. So reporting, as I was saying earlier, at the manager level, it becomes very difficult to get the exact status on a page. What you get is you have to go to the test manager to know the test status. You have to go to the development manager to get the requirement coverage status. So all these things should happen real time and should not require somebody manually getting the data from 5 different tools and rolling it up and presenting it to the manager. So that is another aspect where integration comes into play. So there are some other areas also where integration is required. For example, test data selection, test data management itself is a quite an activity, and it also requires this data to flow across tools. Then unit testing. The unit testing, if it can be integrated tightly with the development tools, then a lot of issues will not reach the testing tools at all. Again, for security and compliance, for example, if it is possible to drive a common set of principles across all tools, these principles may be defined by the company itself, that these are the things that every team must comply to. So those kind of things are also possible using integrations. Then governance across distributed teams. So this is nowadays very critical, because often we outsource projects to separate companies altogether. I mean, geographically distributed teams are they have been here for a long time. Now even the development testing or individual only the testing project is outsourced to a third-party company. It is not necessary that they will be following the rules set by this source company. So if we are using the proper tools and if they are integrated, then we can actually enforce this governance across teams working in different organizations also for the same project. Another aspect to think about is changes in the software delivery models, which demand an integrated environment. So looking at the agile way of working, the entire philosophy is that changes are going to happen all the time. Even it can happen a couple of days before the delivery. So this, unless you are working in a completely integrated environment, this information flowing across distributed teams in real time is really difficult. This cannot be done on the basis of phone calls and emails. That pace is long obsolete. The current pace demands that it has to be real time. If a new change is coming in at the last moment, my tester knows that, my development manager knows that, the deployment guys knows that, and it has to happen real time. Then the cloud-based platforms are coming in, which are raising questions that how do we integrate between cloud-based tools and the local enterprise tools. Again, as I say, change management, the entire picture of change management has changed drastically. It has become very fast, and all this ensures that we are reducing the time to the market. We are coming up with small iterations, delivering work which is getting tested, which are being released if possible individually, and then moving on to the next one. So what integration provides is a single point of truth where you can stand and say that, yes, this is the status, this is the metrics of my current project today, and oh, wait a minute, it got changed because some other module just got completed in the testing area. So that is the kind of responsiveness that people are expecting. So what are the points, like why do we need integration? What do we gain out of integration? First thing is we gain data visibility across tools. So as I was saying, while writing the test cases, if I get to see the actual requirements it would be of great help. Not in a consolidated Word document, no. In the tool where I am working, where I am creating my test case, I want to see, or if I wish, I should be able to see the data coming in from the requirements management tool right there in my IDE. So that is the level of data visibility that's going to help you be in sync with the other teams. Traceability across objects in different tools. So as I said, different tools, different best-of-breed tools are being used across the project lifecycle. And we want to be able to know change in one item is going to impact which other items in different tools. So this is not possible unless you get the information from all these tools into a single repository where you have the complete traceability, end-to-end traceability. And that is where it is possible to get the perfect impact analysis. Next, we would like to get some process automation across tools. So there are tools which have their own workflow engines, and there are tools which do not have any workflow. So it is important for us as an organization to make sure that those tools also are working in the overall process framework of the organization. Again, governance across distributed teams, as I had said, it can be geographically distributed or it can be distributed across organizations. Then dashboards and reports with consolidated data from different tools. This gives us the meaningful metrics and analytics, which are actually actionable metrics based on which you can pick up the phone and talk to the manager of the team and say, hey, I see that you are saying that we are on track, but I can see that you have only 15% test coverage of the requirements. So, I mean, why don't you brief me up what's happening? So that's an actionable metric, real-time metric coming in from different tools, test management tool, requirement management tool. This overall improves the velocity of the entire project team. So if you are to move fast, the entire team has to work like a single coherent unit. Doesn't matter if you are geographically distributed or in a different organization or separated by time zones, you should be in sync all the time. Otherwise, you cannot get this speed. So these are some of the benefits of integrations. Greater insight. So as I was saying regarding the metrics, what is the quality of the current release, which part is not stable yet, what are the corrective actions needed, then enact the best practice processes defined by the organization, overcome the challenges for globally distributed development, then enable collaboration between stakeholders, right from project sponsors up to the developers, testers, documentation guys. The entire team should be able to collaborate and increase productivity and deliver faster. So these are the key benefits of integrations, and there are some more on which I will continue. So ultimate objective is to give the customer his fullest satisfaction. Even there are instances where the customer also is part of this integrated system where he or she also gets a look at what is happening, where we are falling behind and where we are actually at par. So that gives them a satisfaction that, yeah, it's not just the top level guys reporting us something, but we can actually see at the artifact level what is happening. Then improve the quality, which of course is the final objective, that however fast we move and deliver, the quality, nobody is willing to compromise on that. So the quality has to be intact even though everything is changing fast. But still, the end delivery should be of top quality. That's the entire goal. Then actionable metrics and intelligence. So once you have the entire knowledge of all the silos or all the work items, all the artifacts at your fingertips, you are in a much more better position to make an intelligent decision. And if you have to go through 20 emails and 5 different documents to gather that intelligence, then the entire purpose is defeated. Then it enables us to manage change with confidence. That is the, as I was saying, in today's agile world, change is everything. And lastly, plug and play tools. So that is also important because tools themselves are getting replaced all the time. New and better tools are coming up. Even the existing vendors are offering newer tools. So we should be able to replace a tool without much fuss. It should not break the entire system, just replacing one tool for one domain. Now comes the question of how to integrate. So there are 3 options here. First one is point-to-point integration, where you can use the best-of-breed tools, but the integration code has to be written by the customer themselves or a third-party consultant who will develop a piece of code for integrating between 2 specific tools. So it has its own pros and cons. So I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Next is the single vendor integrated. Next is the single vendor integrated tools. So this is like one of the bigger vendors. They provide tools for every part of the life cycle, and these tools often are very well connected within themselves. But the problem here is that you are not being able to use the best of breed tools. Not necessarily one vendor can have the best tools in all the domains. Maybe their ID is very good, but the test management tool is not that good, or the test automation tool is not that good. So you are being deprived of the benefit of using best of breed tools. Also, the integration rules, you do not have any say in that. Whatever the vendor has provided, those are the rules. You cannot have your own custom rules or custom business flows within that. Next is the integration platform. So integration platform allows you to use the best of tools. It has adapters or connectors for each of the tools, which typically connect to a middleware, and the business logic is customizable, and often you get a separate console to configure the business logic for integration. And the vendor or customer or third party, anyone can develop the adapters. So you come up with a new tool requirement, you build an adapter for it and plug it in the platform. Then the bus architecture, that is very useful when you are replacing existing tools and or introducing new tools. So I'll just show you in the next slide that how a bus integration and point-to-point integration is different. So this is typically on the left-hand side we see the bus architecture where all the adapters, the different tools over here are connected to a single integration bus framework. And this is the picture on the right-hand side showing you point-to-point integration. Okay, I agree that this is probably a little bit exaggerated. It's maybe not that complex. But see, for example, if I take this one tool, if I integrate it with 9 other tools, I have to build 9 pieces of code. And if this particular tool changes, I have to change in all those 9 pieces of code. Whereas in the integration bus scenario, these tools are connected to the bus via an adapter. And if this tool changes or if you need to replace it, you just remove that adapter and bring in a new adapter and a new tool, and you are all set. Nothing is disturbed. You need to work on one piece of code. So basically 10 tools requires 10 bidirectional adapters, and in point-to-point scenario it requires 45 custom coded integrations. So next, what are the features we should look for in an integration bus? So there are many tools available in the market. These are some of the advanced features that some of these tools do not advertise. It's conflict detection and mediation. Whenever we are talking about synchronizing items across tools, there's a possibility of conflict. So in whatever tool you are considering, it should have a mechanism for conflict detection and either automated or manual mediation. And system recovery. So once an event has occurred in a tool, and there can be many such occurrences where the events have fallen in the crack. They have not performed the required action in the target tool. Then load balancing and failover, whether these things are supported by the integration bus, whether the compliance is there with the security requirements of the organization. You should always do a thorough security compliance check for any integration vendor. Data transformation as an integral part, and it should be configurable. So data transformation means, say, a title from a particular tool is moving to another tool and you want it to be merged with the name of the submitter. So it should come as name of submitter colon title. So those kind of transformations, those are simple, but there can be very complex transformations also. Then synchronization of relations between entities. So it is not always that these artifacts in the SDLC are single artifacts. They can be related to other items also. For example, a test case can be related to a defect. Then you should be able to manage the integration rules independent of the framework. It should not be embedded in the framework. You should be able to customize it, write your own rules, if possible through drag and drop and not through coding. Then support of multiple applications for the same purpose. So it often happens different geographical teams are using different tools for the same functionality. Then the platform or the bus should have an open API which should allow you to build your own adapters. This ensures that you are not tied up with the vendor. You have your flexibility to build your own adapters. This is also a way of future-proofing your solution. And lastly, synchronization and federation of data. So not all data can be synchronized. For example, if you are working with SCM tools, it is not necessary that you need to copy all the files to the target tools also. For example, the test management tool, you don't need a physical copy of the files. You should be able to just click on a link and get that file on demand from the SCM tool source itself. Okay? So next I'll be just talking briefly about the Covare solution and hand it over to Shomanil for the demo. So what is the Covare solution? Covare solution provides a platform and services for integrating multi-vendor tools and providing a unified software development environment. In fact, it is an ALM automation tool, integrated ALM solution. It allows you to define processes for each artifact, even processes for artifacts which are coming out of different other tools. It has the integration technology which is SOA based and using the ESB architecture. Currently we have 30 plus connectors or adapters in the market connecting to all the best of breed tools, and this list is increasing every day. And the reported benefits from customers are a 20% increase in productivity, process automation, synchronized project management, and faster delivery. So let's move on to the Omnibus details. It is a web service based, SOA based product offering, uses the ESB architecture. The bus connects to applications through adapters, and the Omnibus platform consists of an entirely flexible and customizable entity framework which can relate to any business application you want to track. A powerful traceability feature, workflow automation, reporting dashboarding, administrative interface to manage business rules, and the Omnibus execution engine. Also, there are adapters and plugins available for tools with and without repository. So for example, if you're using Visual Studio to code, it is not a repository-based tool. It's a standalone desktop tool, and you need a plugin over there to see what is the requirement in the requirement management tool. So this is the current offering of adapters from Coware. So you can see it covers all the areas starting from requirement management, design, coding, configuration management, build, unit testing, test management, test automation, defect management, change management, project management, portfolio management, help desk, which is actually a bridge with the IT services team, and also it supports open standards like OSLs. This is a sample view of traceability in Coware. You can see that there's a matrix view and also there's a network diagram view. This is actually interactive and can allow you to go to the particular item details. Moving on to the next, we have a QA dashboard here, which shows you some graphical reports on the right side and also a list kind of report on the left side. What about cloud? So how do we address cloud? Yes, we have an architecture for supporting cloud where the entire Omnibus framework can be on the cloud. Also the cloud applications and the on-premise applications, all of them can be integrated. So it works over HTTPS to web services. It is a firewall-friendly framework. So let's now move to the demonstration of the bus capabilities of the integration bus, and let's see everything in action. So I would like to just make Shomunil the presenter. Shomunil, can you take it up?
Yeah. So thanks, Puranja, for the lovely presentation. And with all the technologies being discussed by Puranja, so now I will be demonstrating this in the form of a live scenario. So the scenario is, let's say, there is a particular project going in, and the organization is managing all this different stuff in all different tools. For example, let's say the customer requirement are being managed using the Coware requirements management tool. The functional requirements team are being managed in Requisite Pro. TFS is responsible for the code and the configuration management system. Quality Center is being used for test management and QTP for automation, and Jira for defect tracking. All these different tools are connected through the Coware Omnibus integration bus, thereby allowing data to transfer across all these different tools from one to the other, thereby providing a consolidated traceability, reporting, and dashboarding capabilities using the ALM Studio. Okay, so now let's see the flow in which I would flow through in this particular integration demo. So we have all this file in the Coware requirements management system, and that particular data would be flowing into Requisite Pro for the system analyst people to enter functional requirements at the same time, the customer requirements to enter those requirements, and testers to study those with respect to the test cases. As the system analyst enters the functional requirements, and that flows back to the Cover LM Studio. At the same time, the same functional requirement would also flow into Microsoft EFS for the developers to start writing codes based on that. And as they check in the files, that would again go back to the main reporting or the dashboarding tool, which is the Cover LM. The next stage, the testing, as the testers get to write the test cases with respect to the customer requirements, those would be planned and executed, and based on the runs, the execution information would be flown back along with the traceability. And finally, if any defects are being created based on this testing, both manual as well as automation, maybe there is a separate team who's working on QTP, and whatever defects that's being raised, that would be flowing into Jira for the developers to track it and resolve it from the Jira tool. And finally, with the resolution of the defects, the defect that have been tracked in Quality Center would be reflected back, and at the same time, that would also be updated to the main reporting tool. So now, with respect to this entire scenario, I would now demonstrate the actual flow with respect to the data, and will take you from one tool to the another. So let's start. So let me log into the Cover Requirements Management tool, which is actually a web-based tool, and it is completely accessible by a browser, which could be Internet Explorer, Firefox, or Chrome. You do not need any separate capability. You do not need any separate tool to check any code or functionalities with respect to this application. You can directly navigate and can do any kind of configuration administration from the browser itself. So let me log in as an analyst to enter a customer requirement in the system. So as Alan logs in Cover, there can be different lander pages for different sets of users. So as you can see, Alan has logged into a particular dashboard, which is consisting of different kinds of gadgets, and the gadgets could be of type reports, or could be some queries, could be some catalogs, and one such gadget is a catalog, and I can directly add a customer requirement from the dashboard itself. So let's say I add a customer requirement saying only registered users will be able to order products. So this is a customer requirement. Let's copy this. This is of type customer. So Cover allows you to define various kinds of fields for tracking various information. So let's say the author is Kevin Hanks, and let's go ahead and enter some description. So this is a rich text field wherein you can provide some rich text formatting features, and we enter the description and save this. Now as Alan saved this particular customer requirement, the inbuilt process engine of Cover triggers and generates a task for the respective stakeholders as it is being configured in the system. So if we now go into the actual requirement stage, you will be seeing this particular requirement has already generated a task for the particular stakeholder. So here you can see this is the particular customer requirement, and it has Jeff Manager already assigned a task to review and link. Now as an end user, if you want to notice what is the particular process that's running on for this particular customer requirement, you can click on this link and get to see a visual diagram which shows the particular activities that are currently in progress, and based on the current stage, once those pending activities are being covered, the process moves on to the next stage based on the status or the values provided by the user as they're currently working on their task. So now, as Jeff has got its task, so let me log in as Jeff and work on the task that he has been assigned to. So this is the dashboard of a manager. So since Jeff is a manager, so he has some higher level information to track, and these are the different kinds of additional gadgets that he's looking into. And here you can see the task that he has been assigned. So let me click on this, get to the task, and this is the particular task that he has been assigned. As the manager, I would associate it to a particular program or the project, and thinking the requirement to be quite attractive, I set the status to approve. Save this. And once I'm done, I'll mark the task as complete. So as far as the reviewer job is concerned with respect to Jeff, he has done his job. And now, as per the Omnibus integration flow, this approved customer requirement should flow into Requisite Pro for the system analyst team to take it from there. Now, the dashboard and the information that are available are intelligent enough, so you can see once the particular task is completed by Jeff, that particular task is erased out of his plate and it's no more in the dashboard of Jeff. So now I'll go into the Requisite Pro tool and show you how the system analyst team look over there. But before going over there, I should again go into this process and show you that once Jeff has completed his job, his review and link activity is done, and the next set of activities are being highlighted, showing now it is the job of the architect and the tester to associate design elements and test cases. Okay, so I'll not go into the details of this process any further. We can integrate this process with any phases of SDLC at any point of time. And now I'll go into Requisite Pro to show you the customer requirement. So there's a different server where it could be the analyst team are working, it could be distributed geographically in a different location, and this is the particular project, and Mark is the system analyst. So here you can see the customer requirement has already arrived. The information are all available. You can see the same title, the description. Also, you can go into the attributes and see the status is also seen to be approved. Without wasting further time, I'll quickly go ahead and create a functional requirement. So let's say the functional requirement goes something like this. Let's say the registration page should accept the name and email ID of the users. A functional requirement with respect to the customer requirement that we entered. We enter some description also, and we save this. So now as it is available, we now go back into this customer requirement, open it up, go into its traceability, get to the to section and link it. So as far as the system analyst person is concerned, he has done his job. Now this particular functional requirement on submission would flow into the main reporting or the dashboarding tool, which is Covare. At the same time, it should flow into TFS as a work item for the developers to work on it. And additionally, the traceability information that we enter should also flow into QC, and at the same time would go into Covare ALM2. Okay. Now, as we are going into this Requisite Pro functional requirements management system, so let's close this and let me open up TFS for the developer to start working on it. So let's close this tool and open up TFS. So now I'm logging into the SCM tool as a developer, and I should see that particular requirement as a work item. I should now be able to see that particular functional requirement under the work items. So would go into the team queries, iteration 1, and should get to see that particular functional requirement. So here is the one. Requirement page should accept the name and the email ID of the users. The functional requirement entered from system analyst team in the Requisite Pro tool is now available for the developers to start writing code on it. So let's quickly go to the Solution Explorer and let's create and check in some files from here. So let's go into the source control. So here is this code repository. Let's go over here and let's create a file. So as a developer, let's say I have written a code and here is the file. Let's say registration underscore page dot ASPX. So really not in a mood to write some scripts right over here. So let's say scripts added. Save this. Close this. So now should add the file over here. Let's simple add, convert this to a TXT file. Some extensions needs to be set. Let's convert this to a TXT file. Okay. Going back to test, let's add the file. Here is it. Next, finish. And once the file is being added to the repository, we check in the pending changes. So once the file is being checked in, here is the work item, and this is the functional requirement that we should check, and let's associate this and check it. Now as we check in this file, a change set is internally created by TFS itself along with the file linked to the requirement should totally flow in back to the main reporting tool, which is the Cover ALM. Now, if I quickly go back into the Jeff dashboard, I can very well show you from here, there is a dashboard and a gadget that contains, and it would show that particular functional requirement. It's currently in the not covered stage. So here you can see this is still in the not covered stage, as because the code file that we checked in from TFS is yet to arrive into CodeFS. Now you want to see a magic? Let me refresh this, and I think I can see it in the covered stage now. 1, 2, 3, and here it goes. You can see the linked TFS files count is showing 1, and this is moved on to the other group showing it is in the covered stage. Okay, so since so magic, let's move on to the testing phase. Now the testing team working from another environment, so need to get into another server. So in this particular server, I will get QC. So let's log into the server. And here, let's open up the QC tool. So it's taking a little bit of time, so please spare me. I'm connecting to a very remote server. So here is the QC tool. Let me log in as a tester, and the first thing that I'm supposed to show you are the customer requirement from Cover RM and the functional requirement from Requisite Pro are both have been inserted into the Quality Center tool for the testers, for two different teams to write test cases with respect to this QC. Okay, so it's loading up. So that is taking a little bit of time. Just sorry about that. So loading all these ActiveX controls and all. Okay, so loaded up. Let me quickly log in. Log in as a tester, and I'm logging to the application. But prior to that, let me go back and show you that the customer requirement, it's currently in the not covered stage. You would feel the magic once again once we create the requirement coverage from QC, and this particular requirement should go back into the other group under the covered stage. So let me show you that. So going into the Quality Center environment, so here is the requirement section, and you can see both the requirements right from here. So both the requirements are getting shown to you. The top ones, the top two are the ones which we entered from two different tools. Let me quickly go ahead and create a test plan. So create a new test plan. Let's say the test plan is, say, registration underscore page underscore TC. Okay. Let's say underscore email. So let's enter some description, and going into the design steps, let's ahead and create some 2 steps. So step is 1 is check for blank space. So expected result is should not allow any blanks. And the second is allow check special characters. Okay. So some description, and the expected result is should allow special characters. So these are the 2 test steps. Now in the process, we go ahead and link the customer requirement to the test case. So select requirement, here is the requirements action, and here is the customer requirement. So the requirement coverage is being established. Now at this particular moment, the relationship along with the information that we entered in the quality center should flow back into the main reporting tool Coware and would create a new test case, the traceability with the requirement along with the steps. Now as the plan is being created, let's go ahead and from the test lab module, let's execute this particular test case. To do that, we go ahead and create a new test set. So let's say registration page underscore test set. Include the test case that we created. And let's run this. So registration page tc underscore run. We begin the run, and based on this, based on our testing, probably the blank space 1 has passed, but there has been a bug, and we have seen that it does not allow any special character, so hence we fail it. In the process, we create a defect. So the defect goes something like this: email field does not allow special characters. So it's detected by TED, it's urgent, its priority is very high, and here is the detection stage. That's UA testing. Injection stage, let's say coding, and based on this, we save this. We created the defect, and we now stopping the run by clicking on this end run icon. So the execution part along with the quality center test management part is done. Now let's quickly shift over to the QTP mode, wherein the automation team is working and writing on some scripts over there. So I have a ready-made script. Available. So this is not the server, it's another one. So here is my QTP tool, and I go ahead and create a new test case. So click new test. And what I'll do is I'll create a new test by using the existing script that I have. So let's say as a tester, add the script, save. So let's say I save this using registration page automation script. Okay, save this. So once this particular test case is saved, it should insert the same test case in the reporting tool in the main dashboard reporting and using the Cover Omnibus service flow. So we execute this, and we would be getting the results which we intend to transfer it to the main reporting tool for the management to get a consolidated visibility of both the manual as well as the automation part of both the test cases. Now, as we are expecting this, we can go ahead and see that as the test execution is working through this particular script, this would yield a result which is either pass or fail. Now, based on the test result, Cover Omnibus integration bus would extract that particular result and would insert it in the main ALM tool. So script is getting executed, and here is the result. So it has failed. Okay. Now let me go back and show you. Let me see whether this particular test case information is now available over here or not. So here you can see the customer requirement is now currently in the covered stage, which shows the linked test cases has arrived. So these are some of the metrics that which are coming, bringing in values, rolling up from different levels within the Cover LM tool and showing you the data at the topmost level from the dashboard. At the end of this entire scenario, I will show you how actually the data is getting pulled up to this dashboard level from the internal thing. So now let me tell you that our test case failed from QC. So at this moment, we created a defect and it should arrive in Jira with respect to this defect creation and as per as the service flow that has been defined. Okay, so the definition of defect so as far as the definition in the service flow in Omnibus that's being defined, the defect is supposed to be here in Jira. So let's select the project, select the type, view it, and should be able to see this bug in Jira. So here is it. So we quickly select this one and update the status on resolution. So since we're running short of time, so quickly going through the process steps. So resolve this issue, and you can see all the information from QC has arrived and it's there in the description. So currently the resolution is fixed, and we click on resolve. So the defect is now resolved, and this should update the same defect at QC also. Okay. So that would take a little bit of time for the Omnibus to capture this particular event and show it in back to QC. In the meantime, let me take you through the navigation flow and give you some aspect of the traceability that's showing up over here. Okay. So these are the different entities that's already been there. Let me take you back to QC to show you the particular defect. So here you can see this particular defect is resolved in QC. So the scenario that we have tried to depict has worked exactly the way I depicted in the PowerPoint presentation. Now let me tell you how Cover ALM has reflected the whole thing from our ALM2. So what we do is, here is the requirements tab, and we go into the traceability to show the entire traceability chain from the one where we started from. So here is the traceability, and we started with this particular requirement 507. So let me filter out this page for better visibility. So here is the customer requirement that we started with, and we expand this, and you find there's a functional requirement is linked to the customer requirement on one side, the test case linked to it on the other. And since this particular test case is linked to the customer requirement, the moment it got linked, it showed in the covered stage. So it rolled up this value using a summary field information into the dashboard. Now as we go over here from the test case, on the other end, we can also show you the requirement, the functional requirement, and it has the change set coming in from TFS and should also show in the file. So based on this traceability information that got automatically linked using the Cover Omnibus, as well as the data coming in from different tools, we could reflect such high-level metrics from the dashboard and from the application. Finally, let me show you the last thing, that is the word report that you can generate on the fly from the Cover application using the entire scenario that I depicted from these different tools. So we have a word add-in by means of which you can create a template, you can generate it on the fly from the Cover application once you upload it. So here is the one. So it's a requirement traceability document. These were the different tools that's been associated with. Here is the table of contents that's been generated on the fly, and if you notice, these are the information that I worked on in all these different tools. So if I scroll down, this is the customer requirement. It's being linked to the retro functional requirement, change set file, test case, design steps, and run. And here is the part. So with this, I conclude my presentation and open my question answer session, which Puranjoy will be taking up as you are entering.
Thanks, Shomni, for the excellent demo. So we have very less time for the questions. I would like to rush through. We have got quite a few questions here. So the first one is, will traceability view show information from multiple apps? Yes, that is true. It will show traceability across applications, as Shomani just now showed. Next question is, what is OpenAPI? OpenAPI means it's a published API structure that you can use to create your own adapters. Next question, using Cover Omnibus ALM, can I integrate other tools apart from the ones mentioned here, like Selenium, TestLink, Bugzilla? Absolutely true. You can do that, and in fact, Selenium, TestLink, Bugzilla, all these three adapters, we are currently building them, and we expect them to be released by October end. Next question is there some configuration we do for mapping QC to Jira? If yes, what is that configuration? Yeah, so all these service flows that Shomanil just showed you, all of them are customizable. They are done through drag and drop interfaces inside the Cover application. So you can create your own service flows based on your business rules. Next question is the data sync between third-party tool and Cover ALM Studio done on batch mode? No, it is not done on batch mode. It is done on an event and action mode. So whenever an event happens in a tool, it is getting queued over there, picked up by the Cover adapters, sent to the Omnibus integration bus. From there, based on the service flows configured by the user, it is going to the target tool. How does this mapping from QC to Jira happen? As I said, there are configuration screens, simple drag and drop. So those things are quite easy, and you can make your own configurations. Can I integrate this suite to continuous integration server? Yes, you can do that. We already have an integration existing with Hudson, and it works with the continuous integration mode. Functional requirement from RecPro was seen in TFS. Where is it really stored? RecPro, Cover ALM Studio, TFS, or all three places? Well, so in this case, it had gone to TFS. It was stored in TFS. It was also stored in Cover ALM Studio so that you can see the traceability across all the tools. So you are correct. It was stored in all the three places, and all of them are synchronized. So any modification in one would reflect in the others. And last question I can see here is, can we link other tools as well? Example, for defect management, we use a tool called version 1. Yes, absolutely. All you need to do is build an adapter for that. Either you can build it yourself or we can build it for you. Typically, if Cover builds an adapter, it takes us 6 to 8 weeks to build and deliver an adapter for a particular tool. So I think that's all in the questions. So I would hand it over to Mohini.
Well, thanks for the insightful presentation, Mr. Puranjoy and Mr. Somanil. I'm really thankful to you for conducting this webinar. It was indeed a great session. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. For more information, you can contact sales@covire.com. The recording of this webinar will be available on techgeek.com by tomorrow. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Bye, everybody.